We're on the right side of the news, that's for damn sure. Nick, I am. John, he is. And Leslie is the producer. Good morning, America. Broadcasting worldwide, mountaintopmedia.com. That's us.
So I guess it's the 249th anniversary of the birth of this country.
That's right. You know, and I've been celebrating that for 74 years now. It's going to come to fruition next year.
Yeah. My grandma is, I've said this a couple times, and I know you know it, but next month she's going to be 103.
Oh, geez.
Man, is she a whole lot tougher than me or anybody I've ever known. And I'm just, my point is that we got to toughen up.
Tied up with some fur traders, wound up being a chief of the Crow tribe, and fought his way all the way over to California. There's a trail, Beckworth Trail, going out of Nevada, and I believe that there's a station, kind of a hole in the wall like Whitmore or Oak Run, called James Beckworth Corner or some darn thing like that. Now, that's when people were tough. Can you imagine coming across the United States in a covered wagon? I mean, you hit Nevada over in there and those Salt Lake and the desert. Boy, I'll tell you what, I'd turn around.
Yeah.
That's a tough group of people.
Did they know how beautiful it was over here?
I don't think so. Probably not a lot of them. They were BS'd quite a bit. I remember somebody telling me that Jim Bridger went back east and told people about the Glass Mountains, where you could see a herd of elk on the other side of the mountains.
Oh, right. Kind of like how Iceland is Iceland and Greenland is Greenland.
That's right.
What a scam. Can you imagine showing up to Greenland thinking, like, realizing that you got duped after a trip across the ocean like that, and maybe half the people you know died or something?
Oh, boy. You know, what are we really, really thankful for in our country? Myself, it's the freedom to sit right here and point out things I don't think are good or bad. You know, in a lot of countries, they'll take you out and hang you or throw you in prison for saying something bad about maybe the LBQT people, just whatever, something bad about the government. You're going to jail. You know, people don't realize what a privilege it is to live in this country. There's a reason why people from all over the world will fight, lie, steal, sneak into our country, because this is the best country in the world.
Yeah, even in the UK, I've seen the thought police come and arrest people for, which we have our own imperfections by far, and I think we're gonna swing the pendulum back towards the liberty and freedom side more than we have right now. But yeah, even in the UK, which you think would be pretty free, I mean, social media posts that criticize Islam or criticize the government or criticize a certain group of people or just freedom of speech in general. I've seen the thought police come and just yank people out of their houses and apartments and haul you off to jail and give you felonies and stuff for just words.
Yes, and at least in our country, they can just make it up.
Right.
You know, I'm laughing at this last administration and how Trump is going through and straightening things out. It's unbelievable to me starting with Obama, but what the Biden administration got away with. And I'm hoping there's a day of reckoning coming. It looks like it's possible they're going to start going back about the 2020 election that was stolen. And there's some clamoring going on that there's going to be a heavy-duty investigation and some people held accountable. We can only hope that. But, you know, there's some things that aren't good about our country, and we're still the best country in the world. I'm tired of the socialism. I like this new bill that was passed, Trump's bill. It gives so many things back to us. It's just, look at this, no tax on tips and overtime. What, you know, that's just a bonus to us working people, to the manual laborers. You go out there and you work hard and you get to keep your money. I wonder what percentage of the money we get to keep right now. I remember not a long time ago, you worked till I think it was probably about the middle of May to pay all your taxes and the rest was yours. Now it's into September, middle of September, you're paying some kind of tax fee, something to the government, and they're not leaving you a lot of money to live on.
Yeah. So I've got some, I look at property ownership or car ownership, and I think we should go towards a consumer tax personally, because I've looked at trying to live on my property, just raising livestock and selling chicken eggs and produce and selling lambs and maybe a couple cows a year. And I'm trying to figure out, how do you do that? Well, even if your house is paid off all the way with the property tax, even just the property tax, if you did everything else self-sustained, it's like you're a slave to your property just to pay the property tax.
Sure, and if you don't pay it, they'll take your property away from you.
Yeah, so I don't know if you could actually call that ownership. It seems more like renting or a lease or something like that. And I think everybody should be able to own at least one piece. I'm not big on government subsidies and things like that, but I think if we're going to have any type of welfare system, it should be to help, especially like single moms and stuff like that, or single parents. I don't want to, discriminate against men, but why shouldn't you, maybe if the government's going to help anything, help you get a house that you can call yourself and call your own and not be taxed on it. Or just the fact that you should be able to own one house without paying any property taxes on it. Now, if you want to be a developer and go out and own freaking 500 and take over the world and try to develop all these, 100 house or 1,000 house developments and stuff, then yeah, pay tax on that. But humble people should be able to at least own one property. And then if you had a consumer tax, think about it. Okay, you drive on the road, you pay a tax when you pump fuel. That helps to fix the roads and everything. If you go out and you buy things, you pay a tax on what you buy versus paying a tax on what you own.
Well, I agree with you, and we already pay a lot of those taxes, like you mentioned, the gas tax to repair the roads. And what they've done is rewarded their bloated bureaucracy, Caltrans, with $100,000+ salaries and retirements, to where we don't have enough taxes to fix our roads. The city of Reading's a fine example of that. It's unbelievable how many people are making over $200,000 a year when you factor in their benefits and their CalPERS contribution, and yet they don't have enough money to fix the potholes to keep our parks up, and they want more. And I expect that tax to pass.
Yeah, do you? Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
For numerous reasons. One, we need it, and there's no sense, and I'm against the tax, but, we've got to move forward, not backward. We can sit here and complain about Barry Tippin making almost $500,000 a year and what a poor job he's done in certain aspects, but that's not getting our roads fixed. And, it's not getting our Reading Sports Park open. And you see how they waste our money. You take Block 7 over here. They gave that. They just, have given that to K2 and the McConnell Foundation to develop it. And they did develop it. And half the money was grant money, but they own it. And it's...
Oh, what's Block 7?
Block 7's the block from... the Cascade Theater, the first two blocks of the south end of the mall on the west side of the new downtown fixed up Reading.
Who did the city council vote on that?
Oh, no. Well, they might have. He might have snuck it through on the consent calendar. I don't think so. But the city of Reading owns that property. I'll give you another good one. There was 201 acres left to the city of Reading from the Benton family across the river from Turtle Bay. 201 acres of that flat over there. They sold 50 acres, right at 50 acres, to the Reading educational system to develop Turtle Bay Elementary School. And they sold the other 250. It might have been 250 acres they left. They sold the other 150 or 200 to the McConnell Foundation for $1.2 million, with the stipulation that money had to be used to build a bridge at Salt Creek right there at Turtle Bay. So they gave that property away, and that's flat riverfront property down there. That would have been a wonderful place to build a recreational facility, big league dreams, softball parks, whatever. And it would have been right here next to the core of downtown, but the McConnell Foundation, they wanted to put an arboretum in there, botanical gardens, and now they want the other side of the river on where the Posse Grounds and Civic Auditorium is, and they're going to get that too. I wonder who's running the campaign, who's financing this campaign for the 1 cent sales tax. My guess is the McConnell Foundation.
Is it just kind of a mystery right now? It's just grassroots and that's it?
That's what they're saying.
So who's paying for the professional signature gatherers?
Well, that's I don't know. And I really haven't investigated much. I've been going to call somebody at the city and ask them, maybe get a hold of one of the 3 drivers. Let's see, there's the gal that's in charge of I think it's Chamber of Commerce. It might be something else. And you've got Baron Browning and you've got Dennis Morgan. Baron, I don't know what he is now, an Asphalt Cowboy or Reading Cowboy Association. And Dennis is a real estate broker. And that's all the information I've got. And I intend to find that out. But, we're not going to get our town fixed up without that 1 cent sales tax, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the answer to that one, but I'm still definitely going to vote no on it. And I think that they've got to figure out a way to be more efficient with government, trim the fat a little bit. And, I know there's an argument on these bike lanes and different things like that, but I mean, there's a lot of money being spent on, like, we have our infrastructure's crumbling, our roads are falling apart, but then we're doing all these new developments on things that are, I mean, probably important, but why not fix what you have before you start doing a bunch of other really expensive projects?
Well, I agree with you. What leaves a sour taste in my mouth is when Proposition 13 went through, all our property tax money went to Sacramento and they dished it back to us. We get a small percentage to spend the way we want, and the rest of it we have to apply grants for. And that's just, it's turned us into a welfare community. Every town in the United States, you've got to apply for a grant to fix your park. You've got to apply for a grant to fix your road system. You've got to apply for your grant to put in infrastructure for a new sports facility. Instead, we should have our own tax money. We should spend it the way we want. Another thing I don't care for.
So you don't like giving the money to the state and then having to ask them back for it? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly.
With strings attached.
That's exactly right.
Hey, Nick, I'll hold on to your money for you, and then just when you want it back, I'll make sure that I approve what you want to use it for.
That's exactly what it is.
If you're okay with that.
Well, if I ask politely, you might let me have some.
Well, it depends on what you want it for.
Sure. And I don't know. It's just a never-ending deal. But let's get back to the big, beautiful bill. I wish he'd quit using the word beautiful so much. But he got his way. And the tariffs. Vietnam just signed a deal with Trump on the tariffs. We are going to get 20% tariff on what they bring into our country. And they are not getting anything for what we send to their country. So what they did basically was buy the opportunity to bring their products to the United States. That's the way Trump is using the tariffs, in my opinion. And it's pretty sharp. These countries are realizing that he'll cut off this market from them if they don't do what he wants them to do.
Yeah,
That's how he stopped the war in Pakistan and India.
I think it's around a 5-fold. They send probably around 5 times more. I think it's around 15% that they send here. We send about 3% or 3.2%. I'm going off of memory here, but I think it's around a 5-to-1. They send 5 times more goods here, dollars worth, than we send to
Sure,
them?
sure. It was $123 million trade deal that we do with Vietnam each year.
Oh, okay.
And, that's how he stopped the war in India and Pakistan, and they've got nukes. And he said, hey, we're going to cut you off. No more of our markets for you if you don't make peace. And they made peace. He's using the economy as a weapon, and he's doing a really good job of it.
Do you know if they've gotten anywhere with India?
What do you mean?
Oh, as far as the trade deals.
I don't know what's going on as far as I know they've made a deal, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah, me neither. I'm kind of waiting to see.
Well, it's not possible to keep up with all that.
Yeah, no, I import stuff from India. Believe it or
do you?
not. Yeah, well, a lot of the cocoa comes from India, and the majority of the world's like the biggest producers of cocoa, or the people that collect it and turn it into a substrate.
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
I never
so-
really
no,
thought
no,
about where
well, I-
cocoa came from. I would have guessed Africa or South America.
Yeah, I mean, some of it comes from Mexico, some of it comes from Vietnam, some of it comes from Sri Lanka, but the majority of it comes from India.
We did a
And-
lot of things, a lot of printing. There used to be a lot of printing was done. It was cheaper to send your stuff like this over to India and have it mass produced than to do it here in the United States.
Yeah, it's sad how deindustrialized.
And with Trump putting tariffs on, it's not cheaper to send it over there. You just keep your printing presses going here and employing Americans and grow our economy. It's pretty simple. He's using it as a bargaining chip, and that's just the way it is.
So, do you think in your research with this bill, do you think that with the increase of the debt ceiling, are we ever going to see that starting to come down? Is this investment going to start to pay off, and then we're going to like see less deficit, or is this just a runaway train? And like, because it just seems like it's. I'm not saying. I was hoping in the first term, and I'm not trying to be negative on this bill at all. I look at the numbers of the debt, and in the first term, I was hoping that the debt was going to increase with the plan to decrease it. I don't know if that was like a 2-term plan. I don't really know how long it takes. I mean, I know everything's heading that way so bad, but you go to the U.S. debt clock, and it's just like insane. It's like we've got to be 37. I haven't looked in a little while, but we've got to be over 37 trillion in debt, and that's not even really all of the debt. I'm just wondering, has anybody talked about a plan to invest, but then to start to decrease the deficit?
Not that I know of. I remember when Clinton was in office and the debt started going up, and they were going to erase it and have a surplus, and it didn't work out. And from what I've been watching, I don't even worry about the debt anymore. I just don't know. I know when Trump first got into office, and knowing what a businessman he was, I was hoping he'd declare the United States bankrupt. We'll just start over.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, what do you do? There's got to be some kind of reset at some point with a different currency. I hope it doesn't go all digital, because I'm going to be really sad if we end up with the digital currency with the social credit score attached. And I mean, who knows what
Well, that's the government running your life again. Now they're running your bank account. It's going to come to a point where your employer, probably the government, will get your check, and they'll give you what you have back, what you've got coming back after they've deducted all your taxes. That's basically what California does to us with our property taxes.
Have you ever heard of a bail-in?
No.
So a bailout is when the government bails someone out, right?
Sure.
Or a company usually. Usually the bailouts go to all the biggest companies that make all the money and don't pay any taxes. It's kind of funny how that works. And they'll send you $100 here and there and go like, here you go, peasant, we're giving the peasants the money too. But so the Bank of Cyprus, and I can't remember the exact year, but in Cyprus there was an example of this, and a bail-in is when the government takes money from you to cover their debt.
Yes. Well, that's what our government does.
Yeah.
And I'm not happy with the way they spend it. Here's another part of the big, beautiful bill, and I like this. The bill requires able-bodied Medicaid recipients to work 80 hours a month or qualify for an exemption such as being a student, caretaker, or having a disability. And similar changes related to work come from Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, although the program already has work requirements for its recipients. That includes people who are 18 to 54 who don't have dependents. That means you've got to do some work to get your free food. Although there are some exceptions, people in that category who want SNAP, that's food benefits, for more than 3 months in 3 years can meet their requirement by working at least 80 hours a month, said the Department of Agriculture. The bill, according to the Senate's version, the bill passed on July 1st, ups the age limit, meaning more older adults will have to comply with work requirements. I don't know what those are. If you got to go out and get a job, or if the government will have you picking up trash on the side of the road, which wouldn't hurt, or what it is. But it's more or less saying the free ride's over. You're going to have to start earning some of your benefits.
Yeah, so how many people would just be like, man, that's not worth it. I'm just going to do some kind of side hustle or be broke and then I wonder if we wouldn't need a 1 cent tax if all the people or the majority of the people that didn't qualify for an exemption actually that were getting this welfare. I don't know how many people are on welfare in Shasta County, but I'd imagine you wouldn't need that 1 cent sales tax increase if we could shave some government jobs and have some of those people replacing.
Oh, yes. Cut the bureaucracy down.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to read something, and I've got to skip. So when I quit, you're going to have to keep the conversation going.
Okay.
With class warfare on the march, it's important to understand the difference between the genuine poor in America and the professional poor. The genuine poor are people who, through debilitating circumstances, great or small, have become incapable of sustaining a work life and sometimes even a home life. Because of mental illness, physical disability, and other unfortunate and unfair acts of man and nature, some people in our country genuinely need help to varying degrees from others. These folks are truly helpless and need assistance from the government or through involvement by charitable organizations. Then there are the professional poor, people paid to remain in the situation they're in. Some are in this category because they want to be and like it there. Others because they were born into it, children of generational welfare, and some find the support just too enticing and too entwining to overcome. What do I mean by entwining? Well, he met this guy that he was this guy that wrote this. He was serving the homeless and this and that for years, and he got to know one of the fellows, and got to know him real well. And along the way of our rocky acquaintance, Mike told me he got $270 every month from the government. His parents were welfare recipients, and when he got old enough, he moved out on his own and ended up on welfare himself. Out of the $270, Mike paid $180 for his big one-bedroom Section 8 apartment in New York's Upper West Side. For perspective, Mike's apartment was fully 3 times the size of mine, and I was paying $800 at the time. This left him only with $90 a month for food and utility bills. Because of loneliness, Mike ate out, fast food a lot, but yes, it would not take long for his money to run out, and he would have to find his way to various soup kitchens in the neighborhood. At one point, he asked Mike, why didn't he get a job? Here's Mike's reply. If I got a job, not only would I lose my 270 I get for not working, I would not qualify for rent at 180, so I'd lose my apartment.
So he'd probably work and make less money.
Well, after he had to pay full rent, had to pay for his own food.
Yeah.
And this is what our welfare system, thank you, Lyndon Baines Johnson, has created.
Yeah. No, that's a powerful story right there, because it's so true.
That's
How-
just the highlights. You know, I went to school here in Reading all my life. I'm still learning. But I saw people that were raised on welfare, and very few of them don't wind up back on it. And that's including disability. I've seen disability scams, and they came from a family that didn't work. In fact, I got to know one guy who was on disability. He was working on his car one summer day, and it was good and hot. And he picked up this gallon jug. He thought it was water. It was gasoline, and he burned his intestines. And he had to have big operations, and he was disabled. But at the same time he's disabled, he's a fishing guide working for cash. He was a hunting guide. He fished all over the country. He'd go over to the coast. I mean, he was living the life of Riley. He had a nice boat and a nice pickup to pull it with. And I went to the coast with him one time. We went fishing on the Smith River up there. And he was telling me he and his wife decided they're going to split up. And they decided that they would run up their credit cards and declare bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And he even said that he had a $200 bottle of cologne he bought. I said, "What'd you buy that?" "Oh, I don't know. Had some money left on the credit card." They even paid the lawyer that ran them through the bankruptcy with their credit cards, and then they filed bankruptcy. And we let this stuff happen.
Well, and that's the problem, is people really know how to work the system. And I grew up with a lot of poor people, a lot of people that totally took advantage of the system. They took their food stamps. Technically, the street value was about 50 cents on the dollar. You could trade it for your food stamps for drugs at 50 cents on the dollar, or you could cash it out, usually either one. So people got this big, same thing with the OxyContin here. I don't know if you remember Dr. Feelgood. I think his last name was Fisher. Yeah. So people were, and I was around like a lot of bad people when I was a kid. I seen all this stuff firsthand. There's a lot of people that were getting massive amounts of that, all welfare paid for, OxyContins, right? The liquid oxycodones, and then the OxyContin 80 milligram pills. And they would sell them for, like, I'm talking $6 to $10, which I don't know what the cost of government paying. And then those people, that was like wholesale. People buy them for that much and then turn around and sell them for, depending on however much if you're a rich person, you're going to pay $30. If you're, it all depends on what level of how connected you are or whatever. But I mean, people were just going in and getting massive amounts of these drugs and then getting them for free with the welfare.
Sure.
And Fisher was making a ton of money on it, and everybody was making money, and the taxpayer is the one getting screwed. And I've seen a lot of people take advantage of the system, and that's the problem with these systems. There is people that need help. There's no doubt about it. But what percentage of people are not working the system, I mean, so when I was a kid, there was this guy who was in a wheelchair, and we all felt this guy was really good at looking like he needed help, and he held it, need food, need money, whatever. Usually I think his scam was food, but what they really mean is give me some money so I could, buy some food or whatever. There was another guy pulled over on the side. I'll finish that story, but I was with my friend, and I don't eat fast food, never did. He had Taco Bell, pulled over, and this guy on the side of the road need food, and he pulled over and was going to offer him some of his tacos or whatever, and the guy goes, "I don't eat that crap." And I was like, because he really just wanted money.
Sure.
That's what he wanted. So this guy was in a wheelchair, and we knew him for years, seen him around. My buddy Mark, he goes, "Man, what's his name in the wheelchair?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "That guy's got a Mercedes." He goes, "I watched him." He goes, "I'm telling you." And I'm like, "Dude, you're crazy, Mark. Are you kidding me? The guy is paralyzed or whatever." He had the whole story. And he rolled up in his wheelchair to his Mercedes, got out of it, and folded up his wheelchair, threw it in the trunk, and drove away. And he made a killing. So we asked him about it. We're like, dude, we saw him do it, and we asked him about it. He's like, I make about $400 a day.
And back then, that was a lot of money.
Yeah, this is back in the 90s. And maybe even late. Yeah, it was early 90s. And I was like, that's messed up, man. I could never ask nobody for nothing. Yeah, I used to push my lawnmower around, okay, so he was probably getting welfare too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so these type of people are the ones that know how to work the system. And I mean, look at all the people that aren't even citizens, or people that are fictitious, that don't even exist, that are getting this money. I mean, there's people that have all these fake identities or hijacked identities that are just raking in the dough with these government programs. Well, here's my idea. Okay, what if the government let us keep our money instead of all the money going into that pool and the bureaucracy? What if they let us keep our money? Look, you can't help anybody if you can't even make ends meet for yourself and for your family, because obviously your family comes first. But people are good. I think most people are good people. And if they were in a position to help people, especially family members and stuff, you wouldn't need, now there's no perfect system. There's no system where nobody's gonna suffer, nobody's gonna be hungry, nobody's gonna get the crap into the stick. That's not the way this world was made. Okay, there is no perfect system, but overall I think that there'd be less poverty and people doing way better if we were taxed and feed and all this stuff, and we were able to what if we didn't pay property tax? What if we were able to save 10% of our money, like we were, outright own our house, outright own our vehicle or two, you could outright own a boat and save 10%, give 10% to the church. You know what I'm saying? And you're not in debt. Okay. Now, when you drive by somebody, or your uncle or your brother or your sister or your kid or somebody got in an accident or whatever it is, and now they need help, guess what? You're going to be able to help them.
Sure. Yep, I agree with you. The government's taking too much of our money. We should have more say-so where our money goes. We earned it. Do you agree with that? Hey, we got some pretty neat clips. Do you think we could play clip number 4 there, Leslie? And this is the what Trump has saved us with his bill. It's amazing that bill got through. This is really interesting. Go ahead and play that. Maybe we'll go to a break when it's over. Because I'm the tax man.
Congress is advancing tax
Nobody's
cuts
ever asked me to
legislation that
sing.
would give small businesses a big boost.
I don't know why.
But exactly what pro-small business provisions are included in the bill? Let's break it down. 1. The small business tax deduction is increased from 20% to 23%, saving millions of entrepreneurs money they can reinvest to create economic opportunity. 2. Lower individual tax rates are made permanent, which is great news for 95% of small businesses that file taxes as pass-throughs. 3. 100% immediate expensing for capital equipment is restored, encouraging small businesses to modernize and expand operations to boost productivity.
Stop right
4.
there, Leslie.
Small business.
That 100%, that means you can write it off that year. I remember when I was in business for myself, working in the woods logging, and I wanted to depreciate what I bought that year. Oh, no, you can only do $3,000 a year. So that's a big deal right there, because you're going to be able to depreciate all that money and get it back in and grow your business and get more. Here we go.
Businesses that invest in research and development can expense those costs right away, sparking innovation and helping them stay competitive. 5. Federal taxes on tips and overtime pay are eliminated, putting more money in the pockets of service workers and strengthening the growing gig economy. 6. A larger standard deduction will reduce taxable income, helping ordinary small business owners keep more of what they earn. 7. Tax incentives for domestic manufacturing will reward companies that keep jobs and production here in the United States. 8. The tax code is simplified, which will give small businesses more time to serve customers rather than fill out paperwork. Studies show these small business tax cuts will increase economic growth and encourage investment. Dynamic effects that will grow tax revenue just like after the first Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was passed. Join the fight and tell Congress to pass tax cuts now.
And then, so it looks like we're going to go to break, I think. I want to take the time to thank the sponsors that help keep our lights on and our partnership with 22 Salute Coffee. They have absolutely amazing coffee. Their bourbon is absolutely the best bourbon I've ever had. It helps keep the lights on here. If you go to Mountaintop Media and purchase, you save 10%, and the rest of the money goes towards helping first responders and veteran suicide prevention. So you're supporting a good cause, you're getting a good product, and you're helping us keep the lights on here, which we have no outside funding, no government funding, no NGO funding, so it really helps us. Jefferson State Diesel, absolutely the best place to take your diesel in. If you have a vehicle with a diesel, they're absolutely the best. Both owners are on site. They support the community. They always are supporting patriots. And there's absolutely nowhere else I would go to take my truck to get worked on and trust them to do a good job and never scam somebody. And they help us keep the lights on here. They're our number one first sponsor that really stepped up to the plate. I also want to take the time to give a shout out to Taylor Motors. They are an amazing family. If I was going to go and buy a new vehicle, absolutely, I would go nowhere else other than Taylor Motors. And they also sell used vehicles. So, and if you buy that, it's new to you. And they are actually, they're a top tier sponsor. They really stepped up to the plate. They're always going to fundraisers to support the right people. They're huge supporters of the right people in the community. And they have a lot of integrity, and the family's great. Also, Taylor Collision Center. Hopefully I don't get any accidents, or somebody just actually swiped my wife's vehicle the other day in the parking lot, and they just drove off, and it was a little ding. So I'm not necessarily, I don't know if we're going to take that in, but hopefully nobody bangs my truck up or her vehicle to where we have to take it in there. But if I did, I would absolutely take it to Taylor Collision Center. They have a lot of integrity, very good, honest people. And there's nowhere else I would take my vehicle. Thank you for watching, and support the other people in the community that support us. All right. Looks like we're back. I think we are. I'm not sure, but I know we're close.
I've got an announcement I want to make. Are we on, Leslie? Yes,
Oh, yeah.
We're on. Okay, listen, Shasta Anon, ANON, .com has a new video out, and it is about the Redding Record Searchlight, the history of the Searchlight. And it's down to about 2,000 people that subscribe, and they're going to lose me pretty quick. I was going to cancel them not long ago. I'd say 4, 5, 6 months ago. I grew up here. I like to see who died, and they're not putting much on that. But the thing is, yesterday, I was looking at the, about 5 in the morning, I'm looking at the online newspaper, and there was one article that was local, just one article in there, and I'll bet you can't guess what it was. It was the weather. There wasn't one thing local in that paper. And now you've got to wait for it. It must be a day late at least, because they're mailing it to you. And that paper has just gone to heck. It's gone from I don't know how many employees down to about 3.
One of the points that I brought up before was if you look who Gannett is, who owns USA Today,
Yes.
and part of that, and obviously you can see, and I believe they're the largest newspaper company in the United States, if not the world. And so you could I wonder why. I don't think there's big money in this. You know what I mean? I think it's more about, when you look at BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street, which is all one company really, because they all own each other, and all these other corporations but they are actually the majority shareholders of them. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, the news has gotten terrible, and we're going to play a little clip off to 60 Minutes here pretty quick. But, when my wife died, they charged me $50 to put her picture in there and $5 a word for her obituary.
$5 a word?
A word.
Maybe there is money in that.
Well, I spent about $450 for a one-day ad, and I honestly believe that the obituaries should be free. Maybe not the long deal, but at least an announcement, So-and-so died on such and such a date, and, they died. Now it's $50 to put that in.
Wow.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I know it was $50 for the picture.
How long ago was this?
6-7 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's 7 years ago today at 4:17 p.m.
Yeah.
And then I want to announce Kevin Kry's show last week was outstanding. Had Chris Street on, and they talked about bringing a medical college to Shasta County. And when we get our viewership up to where we want it to be, I'm hoping that we'll do a special show. We'll listen to that, and John and I will intervene and give our opinions to it. At the supervisors meeting, I got the impression that we would either put our money towards a jail or a medical college. Well, a jail isn't going to happen. And the alternative custody program, I don't like it a bit. They don't keep them overnight, so you're sentenced to 90 days to the alternative custody program, but you go home at night. They're probably going to monitor you and put a bracelet on you. We've got all that. We've got home monitoring. We've got the probation department. We've got all these different rehab facilities. Their success rate is anywhere from 7 to 14%. This isn't working. If we got us a medical college, we'd attract so many different organizations coming in here, different businesses wanting to get in on the ground floor, wanting to sell their instruments, sell these doctors on what their research shows them, and their instruments, that it would bring a ton of money into this. And that's where I would prefer our supervisors focus their attention.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of it, and I think that's a good kind of growth for our community here, and there's obviously a need for it. There's no doubt about that.
Well, it was interesting, and you can go to the archives at KCNR1460.com. And
it's the Kevin Kry radio show, right?
Yeah.
Is how you look, yeah.
Yep.
So you just go to KCNR
1460.com.
Yep.
And click on show archives and fish around, and you can find it. I'm technologically challenged, and I found it.
Yeah, so I think it's programming. You go to programming.
Yeah.
Up at the top. Oh, there. Well, check out the rest of our shows. That's another way to do it. Yeah.
Yep,
there you go.
Yep. And I've got a show I'm on tomorrow, Poke the Hornet's Nest, and somehow they've got the archives of that and Kevin's show on mine, and you can fish around. We hope to have a good show Sunday. And, people need to get involved and tell their supervisors what they want. If we're going to have a jail, I want a real jail. I don't want an alternative custody program where the person that's sentenced for whatever, shoplifting, stealing cars or whatever, goes home at night. I think that, the regular jail, they can't keep drugs out. How are you going to keep somebody drug-free when you're sending them home at night?
I don't know. I guess, it doesn't really make sense. Just do house arrest or incarceration, one or the other, I would think. If you're going to let someone out on good behavior and let them do some house arrest stuff, just choose that. I don't know why you do both.
That is softened up so much, that house arrest. A fellow I know, he got in trouble for burning down a house, and I think he was under house arrest for 90 days. But they made an exception. He could go to Red Bluff because he got a job drywalling the bathrooms of a motel they were remodeling. yeah, you can get out and go to work, and you can do this, and and they're trusting you that you're going to work. So I don't know. Our judicial system, our punishment has softened up so much that nobody's afraid to go to jail or get in trouble.
It seems like you can get in a lot of trouble for almost nothing, and then if you get in a lot of trouble, you get almost in no trouble.
That's right. Well, it's like CPS. I've watched CPS, and they've got, say, a person that won't work with them, that's dysfunctional, that's yelling and screaming, and CPS just walks away. We can't deal with her. And you find another parent that's really good and stubs her toe once, and they're in there wanting to take the kids away. It's just what we need is an alligator Alcatraz.
Yeah, and I saw Alaska once a grizzly bear or some kind of bear Alcatraz in Alaska.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. That'd be pretty good. I was over in Fort Bragg one time, and I was having some breakfast, and I was hitchhiking on a conversation. These two guys were guards at an honors camp, and it's about halfway between 101 and Fort Bragg. Highway 1, anyway, it's about 40 miles into Fort Bragg on a windy road. And they've got an honors camp, kind of like Sugar Pine Camp up here by Ingot. And they were talking about these trustees that come up that are from the Bay Area city folks. And he said every once in a while he'd say, now you guys stay close here. There's been a couple bears sighted. He said he didn't have to worry about them guys running off.
Wow.
Well, he made it up. And bears, they're more scared of us than we are of them.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not scared of bears. I'm not scared of sharks. You know what I am scared of is car crashes and stuff like practical things. So, like you look at Jaws, right? The movie Jaws.
Sure.
How many? I think you might call me crazy. I think there was more to that. I think that was a psychological operation to see how much they could scare people into staying out. Because I'll be honest, how many people are afraid to go in the ocean because they saw Jaws? I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I brought this point up, and a lot of people are like, yeah, that scared the crap out of me. That absolutely scared the crap out of me. So now I haven't looked at this data, but about 5 to 7 people die from shark attacks worldwide. Okay? Worldwide, 5 to 7 deaths a year. I'm sure it changes. That was an average probably 10 years ago since I actually looked at the data, but this was data for a long time. Okay, so you know how many people on average die from coconuts falling on their head? An average of 78. Now this is, like I said, I haven't looked at this exact data, but it's been about 10 years. But around 10 years ago, an average of 78 people died from coconuts falling on their head, and 5 to 7 from sharks. Now I swim a mile out in the ocean and back. I'm not afraid of sharks. I've swam. Now I'm not saying that you go and jump in with the great whites breeding ground when you can physically see a bunch of great whites sitting there or a bunch of orca. You know what I'm saying? That's not like a great idea, but I'm just saying overall. Okay, so black widows. Somebody was telling me, oh man,
let's not be racist here.
Well, they're really scared of black widows. And I said, well, let's, they're saying, oh, so all this so poisonous and all these people die and stuff. And I was like, well, let's just look that up because they don't, you know what I mean? I've never known any. I mean, if you get bit, you get a little sick and stuff, but it's not like, I was like, looked it up. There's only been one death from black widows in the entire history of the United States, recorded at least. I mean, if somebody could have died from it and they didn't know, but I'm just saying it's not like people are dropping left and right from black widows.
You talk about coconuts falling on people's heads, and I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago that the local newspapers here, a news cafe and the 3 writers for Record Searchlight took a vacation down in the Bahamas, and I'm wondering if maybe they got hit in the head by a coconut.
I wonder about that a lot. I drive around and I wonder about that a lot throughout the day.
I was looking at my emails the other day, and on Facebook this one came up that somebody shared with me. Lisa Jennings Pickney posted a video of Nathan Pickney. And this guy hates anybody that likes Donald Trump. It reminded me of Maxine Waters. If he sees you in public, he's going to be in your face. If you've got a business and a Trump supporter comes in, you need to tell them to go away. And I would love to play that, but it's spiced up with a little bit too much profanity. You know, I'm no stranger to profanity, but I try and keep it at a reasonable level. And I certainly don't use profanity on the show or in the Board of Supervisors or any of those places. But it's just unbelievable, the Trump derangement syndrome. After you see all this stuff, we're winning. We've got that one. Can we play clip number 2? I think that's the one we want.
Hold on. Let me play something, because you were bringing up Child Protective Services.
Go ahead.
And I want to play this 9-year-old boy and going back to how many people die from car accidents in the U.S. Around 1.3 million, I believe, in the U.S.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. That might be worldwide, actually. Okay. Actually, I take that back. I think about 1.3 million people die in car accidents worldwide. I'm remembering the number, but that might have been a worldwide statistic. But I'm not afraid of driving, but that's something I'm very careful with.
Well, you know, I almost got a really serious head-on last week, and I'm saving it for Poke the Hornet's Nest Sunday at 8 on KCNR1460.com. So tune in.
Well, these people are texting and they're not driving. I don't know what they're doing. They're like, maybe self-driving cars are good for some people, because the skill set, or just people paying attention on the road, it's just, you really have to pay attention. People will just pull into your lane. They'll run stop signs, red lights. It's crazy. Okay, go ahead and play this clip right here. So this is a 9-year-old kid in the UK. Now, I know most people might think this is crazy, but I'm going to play a really short video right after that, and then I'm going to give the floor here to Nick. I just wanted to finish it reminded me about something, so I sent this to Leslie here. Go ahead and play this right here. This is a 9-year-old kid, and you tell me if you think he's lying.
I'm 9 years old right now. We eat babies. We drink their blood. Okay. Because this is how we do it. So like on Wednesdays is the most special, busiest day, special day.
Okay. We'll take it little bit by little bit.
As I said, we kill babies, we drink their blood, we eat them. But then after, so the social services who are in it, they go to families, So if the families can't afford, so they get a baby but they can't look after it, or anything, they can't buy food, or they can't buy clothes, they can't look after it. So the families who sell their children, so the social services get them, they say they get them to a foster home, but they don't. They get the babies or the children, and then they get the baby, they hang it upside down. And yes, with the string. They put a string, it's like a circle string, tie it to the legs, hang it upside down, and then they get the knife they use for cutting the baby's head off.
Where is it this that happens?
The church, the kitchen in our church.
The kitchen in the church.
Yes.
Go ahead and go to. They probably scrambled it because they don't want to hear this kid talk about play that other clip real quick that I had you download in the very beginning, and then the floor will be Nick's. So these are celebrities, high level people. I mean, there's Will Ferrell right there. Let's so basically that 9-year-old boy was talking about how on Wednesdays how they eat babies, they drink their blood. At church in the kitchen, they hang the babies upside down. He explains how they buy the kids from Child Protective Services out in the UK, and then those kids basically, it's all anonymous. They get disappeared into the system. And they hang them upside down, and they cut their head off, drain the blood out, and drink the blood. Might sound kind of crazy, but this is Marina Baranovich, who actually Hillary Clinton said is her idol, which I could actually back that up 100%. I mean, she said it herself that was her idol. her number one idol was this lady, and you look up Spirit Cooking. Here's a little video on it.
You Google Marina Abramovic's name in Spirit Cooking, and you will find hundreds of pictures of Marina Abramovic's events where they will have, for example, a cake that looks like a human being, and they'll depict human cannibalism. And they claim they're not engaging in cannibalism. And you will find A-list actors and famous politicians and other very famous and successful, powerful business people at her events. They literally have food that look like human beings on dinner tables.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, I just can't wrap my head around that. I can't wrap my head around anybody that's mean to kids. And it just, but you know, kids don't lie. That little 9-year-old was explaining that that's what happened.
In that video, and if you look up Marina Baranovich, you can actually look up that in Spirit Cooking, and you can find all these videos. Well, they have these big parties where they have these human-looking cakes drenched in some kind of, I would imagine, some kind of sweets, which is like blood, basically. And they all sit around and eat these effigies or these fake human bodies. And I mean, it's pretty weird. They do some really weird stuff out in the open. And if you look at, you know, the history of child sacrifice and what they were doing thousands of years ago, I don't think it ever stopped. And a lot of this stuff I believe is happening behind closed doors. And there's a lot of evidence that supports that. And I don't know if you saw the interview I did about a couple weeks or a week and a half ago, but we actually had a lady on that was, you know, on Epstein Island and trafficked and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you'll have to go back and watch that.
I'd like to. Anyway, let's go to clip number 2. I can't get over Trump's accomplishments, and so we'll play that, unless that's the one we already played. No, Here we go. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Click.
And so you could make an argument that this week or the last 2 weeks, the best week or 2 weeks of his entire presidency.
Let me know in the comments. Are you tired of winning yet? I know I'm not. What a joy and a privilege to be able to cover this versus all of the horrible, terrible news I had to cover for 4 years with Joe Biden off. A ceasefire between Iran and Israel after bombing nuclear facilities and not killing a single person. The Supreme Court ended the judicial coup by limiting nationwide injunctions. Trump secured 5% of GDP defense spending from every NATO country, amounting to billions and billions of dollars. Rwanda and Congo have signed a historic peace deal ending another war. President Trump received permission from SCOTUS to send illegal immigrants to third-party countries. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ hit an all-time high. President Trump emerged victorious after a Senate attempt to rein in his Iran strike through a war power resolution. The China deal has been signed. Several food giants joined the growing list of those that are committed to removing poisonous artificial dyes from American food products. Economic experts say that Trump is totally victorious on tariffs. And according to government data, right now, over $30 billion a month are coming in. And President Trump says we're just getting started. Social Security handouts saw the largest monthly decline ever. This is good because that means that they removed waste, fraud, and abuse. And as I told you last night, Big Balls over at Doge has specifically been hired as a special government employee, SGE, to go in and root out the remaining fraud in Social Security to strengthen it for American seniors. This is huge. General Electric announced that they're moving their manufacturing from China back to Kentucky in the United States. The Pentagon began reinstating service members that were wrongfully fired for not wanting an experimental COVID vaccine shot. The DEI president of the University of Virginia resigned after President Trump applied pressure. It has been an incredible week for MAGA and President Trump. Let me know in the comments. Are you tired of?
So, you know what amazes me is the fraud in Social Security. I hope they're going to go after the fraud in Social Security disability. I remember when Obama was in office, if you had a hung toenail, you could get on disability. And there's a lot of people taking advantage of that program. I see some people locally. I see the investigation they do on the internet. There's no reason they couldn't learn to code like Joe Biden told them to. I'm sure they're Biden supporters and support themselves instead of us supporting them. I see them running around. They don't look disabled to me. But you can't always tell by looking at somebody whether they're disabled or not. But I know that there's a lot of fraud going on. And what's really a shame is that our government hasn't taken care of this before. It took Donald Trump to get here the second time to start straightening this mess out. And, you know, you said U.S. aid, 90% of that money went to the bureaucracy.
Yeah, that money was used for. They're starting to get into that. The USAID is a big slush fund for propaganda for all these NGOs. I mean, I guess from what I understand, they can't get rid of it completely, but they can trim it down to as small as possible. Is what the goal is.
Well, yeah, and then they can make sure the money gets to where it's supposed to go, and they should make sure when it gets there that somebody like Saddam Hussein isn't putting it in his own personal account. You know, we give billions of money to different countries, and it doesn't go to the people. You know, we send food, say, to Gaza, and the military, the Hamas, they're storing it and selling it to the people. We sent it there to feed the people, not to sell it to them.
Yeah, I wonder how much money that we sent to Ukraine actually got used for good stuff.
Boy, that's a...
Or if you could say the war is good stuff, I mean, I think we should have stayed out of that completely. You know, that's a whole nother topic that would take a long time to talk about. But they were catching politicians' wives. I mean, they caught a politicians' wives with millions of dollars on her going to a different country. Sure. And then you look at, what was that, FTX, or was it FXT? FTX, I believe, was the crypto that Sam Bankman-Fried and stuff. You remember that? So that currency, which you don't hear much about that, isn't that funny how that works? There was billions of dollars that were laundered, basically. You send the money there, okay, and you can't trace the weapons because that would like be too much information. So it's kind of like just all anonymous. We send all this money or all these weapons. The weapons get sold on the black market, and then the money from that goes to the politicians, and then some of that money was coming back over on FTX to the politicians. I don't know if you remember all the money going to the Democrats through that cryptocurrency.
On a brighter note, 500,000 Haitians have self-deported. That's pretty damn good. Thank you, President Trump. I'm sure they were here on...
500,000?
500,000.
And that's pretty amazing.
They took advantage of the plan. Hey, we'll fly you back home.
Well, I think we've had operatives that have been in positions of power that were basically trying to Trojan horse the United States and basically take our power away from inside out.
You know, our biggest enemy, Leslie's got it up here on the screen and we're going to play it, is the media. And actually, Donald Trump sued the media because of this clip, how they doctored up Kamala Harris's answer. They edited it so she didn't sound as dumb as she is. And he got, I think it was a $17 million settlement from them. You want to play that right now? This is CBS Face the Nation.
Yeah, and this was before the election.
No, 60 minutes.
This was before the election, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Go.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems that
See,
Prime
there you
Minister
go. The first
Netanyahu is
part,
not-
she doesn't know what she's talking about. The second part, it's like she's got it under control. We're going to be fortunate. She's going to run for governor probably. She's already got a 41% favorable rating. Can you believe that?
You with the entire California population, or within the Democratic population, or do you know what that 41%?
No, I just heard it this morning, and so I don't really know. But
Who else do they got? I mean, is
I think Javier Barrera is running. I think he's the one that when they subpoenaed his server over the Hillary Clinton emails, he gave him the wrong server.
Oops, that was an accident.
Yeah, sure.
I gave the cops the wrong license last time. I gave them someone else's license when they pulled me over.
Yeah, now
like-
they've got a warrant out for him.
Yeah. They're like, wait a minute, you're not Japanese. No, I'm just joking.
So I read this one comment about the news, and if you want accurate news, is you need to listen to Fox News for about 4 hours to get 15 minutes of accurate news.
Yeah, little clips here and there. I know they're not.
And that's the Good News Network.
Yeah, there's little snippets of truth and here and there, but yeah, it's they're kind of part of all the same system of propaganda.
Are we out of time?
I think we're just about there. I mean, we can go. We don't have to keep it to the second, but I think we're about done here. Well, I mean, what I'm grateful. You were talking about what you were grateful for, and I'm grateful for all the amazing things. But really, what I think about on the 4th of July, Independence Day, is just I try to be as close as I can to some of those people like Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, George Washington, people like that. And you look at how amazing they were and all the little things that we complain about. I mean,
boy, isn't that the truth?
So,
I've said for a long time, people need to learn to be satisfied with their station in life. It seems like everybody thinks they should be rich. Everybody should be having the lifestyle of Tom Cruise, Leonardo DiCaprio, somebody like that. Speaking of, if you get a chance, go see F1. That's a Brad Pitt movie about Formula One racing, an excellent show. I saw it the other day. But, the happiest people I know are not rich.
Well,
they have a family. Their whole life revolves around their family, their entertainment, their work, everything. Those are the happiest people.
Well, the system was designed to put us into a debt slavery, and you can't, like we were talking about ownership of property. It's like you can't, like, you used to be able to, one person could work, one person could stay home, raise the kids. You weren't in debt. You weren't stressed out. You weren't in the rat race of just, constant anxiety ball of trying to survive and provide for your kids. And people that live a simple life, it's very hard to live a simple life now. I think by design. But if someone asked me how rich I was, I would have to think about, because you can't take money with you when you're dead. And if you have trust fund kids, you basically ruin them by giving them everything and not having them become their own person, right? I mean, you look at people that have never had to work for anything. I mean, the problem to them is stubbing their toe in the morning, or someone not making the coffee the way they wanted. That's like a big deal to them because they don't have real problems. But if you were to ask me how rich I was, I would have to self-reflect and think about how many times did I laugh? How much joy did I have in my life? How much love did I have in my life?
How many people did you help that enriched their life?
Absolutely. And that's how I would judge success or how rich you are.
You know, Leslie just popped something up here. I'll read it to you. By signing the Declaration of Independence, the 56 Americans pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. It was no idle pledge. 9 signers died of wounds during the Revolutionary War. 5 were captured or imprisoned. Wives and children were killed, jailed, mistreated, or left penniless. 12 signers' houses were burned to the ground. 17 lost everything they owned. No signer defected. Their honor, like their nation, remained intact. And, you know, I'm not so sure there's a lot of honor left anymore when you look at our news media, when you look at the politicians we elect to represent us and do what's best for us, when you can't trust anybody. Like I said last week, there's 2 people I trust. That's John Knight and me, and I'm not so sure about me. You know, you just can't trust anybody anymore, and it's just such a shame. A handshake doesn't seal a deal anymore. You've got to get it signed and maybe looked over by an attorney.
I think there's something to looking someone in the eyes when you shake their hand. If someone shakes my hand and they don't look me in the eyes, I automatically put them in the no trust category, because I think the eyes are a window into someone's integrity and soul. I don't know. For me, I'm very... I don't know. I have more intuition and feeling than I do logic. I don't mathematically size someone up by the vehicle they drive or the clothes they have.
I understand that, but there's people that are on the spectrum that you won't even know is on the spectrum that won't look you in the eye because they're on the spectrum.
Okay, that's true. That's true. There's always exceptions.
Yes, there's exceptions to everything.
Yeah, all right.
But,
well,
you know, an old guy told me one time, and I've stood by that my whole life, a man's only as good as his word. If you say you're going to do something, you do it, even if it costs you money.
Yeah, judge someone by what they do, not what they say.
Let's end the show on that note. Happy 4th of July. Peace, love, and waterbeds.
Happy Independence.
I'm going to be playing you a short video, about 5 minutes long. And it's highlighting a very important scientific concept around the pandemic that has gone missed. What I want you to do is to watch the video, and I genuinely want to hear what you think, whether or not this is a strategy we can use to help to bring complex ideas in a realistic and real-world format. So please, let's hear what you have to say afterwards. Let's go with this.
What if I told you the country with the worst healthcare system in the Western Hemisphere had 40 times fewer COVID deaths than America, and they did it with only 2.7% vaccinated? This is a story they don't want you to know. 837 total COVID deaths out of 11.4 million people. That's roughly 7 deaths per 100,000. The United States, over 300 per 100,000. Dr. Patrick Daly was Haiti's director of epidemiology from 2018 to 2022. He expected 60,000 deaths.
We lost fewer than 1,000 souls.
That's absolutely incredible. Imagine working 22-hour days, sleeping only 2 hours, fighting to save your country, and then being completely ignored when you succeed. That's exactly what happened to Dr. Daly and his staff. Before the WHO announcement, before most countries even acknowledged the threat, Haiti was already monitoring. They blocked flights. They prepared. After the 2010 earthquake destroyed everything, followed by a devastating cholera outbreak, Haiti rebuilt a modern health surveillance network. International agencies provided technical assistance, funding, training, and resources. 85% real-time reporting. The Haitians were watching, waiting.
We were the first in all decisions.
But here's where it gets really interesting. To understand Haiti's miracle, we need to go back to the 1950s. American children were being paralyzed by polio, 21,000 in 1952 alone. Meanwhile, in poorer countries, kids played in the dirt and very few got polio. Scientists at that time were curious and investigated. they discovered something shocking. Children exposed early, while protected by their mother's antibodies, gained lifelong immunity. Better hygiene actually made rich kids more vulnerable. Sound familiar? Haiti's population lives with constant pathogen exposure. Dengue, cholera, you name it. Their immune systems speak a different language.
Cross immunity. Our immune systems know how to negotiate with new threats, and 60% of the population is under 24.
Wait, let me make sure I heard you right. 60% of Haitians are under 24? Fewer elderly people mean fewer targets for COVID. While Americans retreated indoors where the virus spreads best, Haitians continued their outdoor lives. Sunshine, fresh air, organic food. While Americans panic-bought toilet paper, Haitian grandmothers were brewing the same time tea their ancestors used for centuries, and it worked. No clinical trials, no FDA approval, just centuries of folk wisdom keeping people calm and at home. And here's the craziest part. Haiti achieved this with only 2.7% vaccinated. Even most healthcare workers refused the shots.
Most of our healthcare workers didn't believe in vaccines. They saw it as a political game.
Their skepticism, born from decades of broken promises, accidentally aligned with their natural advantages. The result? One of the pandemic's greatest success stories. But the most disturbing thing? There was no attempt to study Haiti's success. The WHO sent one congratulatory letter, then silence. No research teams, no funding, nothing.